Welcome to my third Q&A, and to save time, let's just kind of hop right into it. What makes you interested in Toontown still? I think a lot of it is the potential of new content and the community still existing. I'm hoping to see TTR content soon, and soon the release of Corporate Clash and a whole slew of things involving that. About how long do you think it'll take for Toontown and Corporate Clash to get into the beta stage or full release? I wish I could say honestly, just know we're doing our best to get it ready as soon as we can, and we have a date in mind, but we're not gonna put a label on anything to be safe for user experience and for our experience. How do you know what kind of mysteries and theories to discuss about Toontown, such as what led up to its original creation? A lot of it stems from just me having played the game for so long and having thought about it critically a lot, and always kind of wondering this or that about these mysteries or theories and things of that nature, and I'm always kind of one to think a lot about those kinds of things. Do you think Corporate Clash will add new species even after its release, or are the current species the only ones that will be playable? I'd really love a chicken species. We definitely wouldn't be opposed to adding more species to Corporate Clash, simply put. How have you been recently? Is everything still well? Anything new? I've been pretty good, thanks for asking. Lately it's been a lot of the same, but it's going fairly well, so thank you for asking. Do you think Toontown will ever make more Toontown merchandise if there was a Toontown sequel or reboot? Here's an extra question if you're interested. What do you think of a LEGO Toontown theme? It could be LEGO Minecraft, where you're able to connect all of the sets into one group, but the sets would be playgrounds and all the COG HQs. First, I think in the event that there was a Toontown sequel or reboot, that Disney would be idiotic to not make more Toontown merchandise. And a LEGO Toontown theme would be neat. I've always liked the Toontown aesthetic regardless of the game or the actual Toontown in person. So merchandise of any sort, even Legos, would be cool in my opinion. As you're the art director of Corporate Clash, what would your reaction be if Jesse Schell, the creator of Toontown, played Corporate Clash? Well, I'm the content director, which is kind of the same thing in a way, and I would be honored if he did, honestly. He's already commented on a video of clashes that someone showed him, but I feel like it's such a sharp contrast to the game he made that he might have critical opinions about it, however. What is your favorite part about working on Corporate Clash, and if you can tell us, what are you most excited for people to experience from your work? My favorite part about working on Corporate Clash is honestly the fact that I get to have such a big say in content development, so that means I can shape the way future updates turn out, tweak things, write an entire task line based off of an original source that's more or less all my own story that I'm writing, and that's probably what I'm most excited for people to experience, let alone the other surprises we have in store. Do you think estates should be redone in TTR? I personally like a much larger area with the ability to place outdoor furniture and stuff like that. Estates are something that's always lacked in the update department. I'd like to see an expansive estate update, which would bring things like modular house expansions and outside decorations and a whole bunch of stuff. Why did you choose cat as your Toontown species? I chose cat simply because that was just the species me and my brother agreed upon when we made the original Loopy Goopy Google Nerd back in 2004-ish. How did you learn about Toontown when you were a kid? I've said on a number of times that it was an advertisement that brought me on, and it very well could have been considering the ad ran in 2003 and I started playing in late 2003, but it also may have been some kind of email advertisement my parents got and shared it with me. Do you think /hope Corporate Clash will ever completely take over the Toontown community and the majority of the players will be playing Corporate Clash instead of TTR? Well, Corporate Clash's goal isn't to take over everything Toontown, and all I'm personally hoping for is to see it become a success, and to be a success is just simply having enough of a player base to keep the game feeling alive. Is there any kind of improvement you'd like to see in Toontown rewritten, and if so, what is it? Content. Honestly, it just all comes down to content. I wish I could say tweaking street props or something small, but all we're waiting for at this point is just content and new permanent content, emphasis on permanent. First, congrats for almost being at 10k subs, and what I would ask is, what other games are you into at the moment that isn't Toontown? Thank you, I really appreciate that. And I've always been really into NBA 2K games since about 2010. I enjoy playing Fortnite with some friends of mine. Recently, I played The Sims again for the first time in a while. I broke out Gary's Mod for the first time in years, and, well, I'm not really the biggest gamer, but that's just kind of an idea. How is your opinion when Mega Snoop quit Toontown? Well, I don't consider him having quit Toontown. The situation is simple. He's a content creator that needs to be inspired by what he's doing in order to create content. Toontown is honestly just become so unbelievably the same for so long that it's honestly just frustrating to pretend that it's enjoyable doing the same thing again and again and again. And I guarantee you, you'll see him come back when the updates come, whether that's TTR or Corporate Clash. You can bet on my word, you'll see him play it. Will tunes be more customized? Examples, colored gloves, eye styles, and hooves for horses, etc. I'm always one for allowing for as much customization and uniqueness amongst tunes as possible. That being said, if we're going to add anything like that in the future, it has to be planned carefully. We're not big on colored gloves, we kind of prefer to stay to the original Toontown style on that. And other things like custom body parts have to be considered carefully as to not mess up any existing animations or accessories or anything like that. So it's things that we will consider, but if it takes work, it might take a while. What is your favorite task line? Well, all I know really are TTOs and the one I'm currently writing, so I'll be biased and say mine! How do you feel about the moderation in TTR, and how do you and the Toontown Corporate Clash team plan to actually be good at it? Well, let me say that moderation is definitely a fickle thing to get right, and I think despite how much bad press TTR has gotten for moderation, that their efforts aren't in vain, and they've done an alright job, and they try to do an alright job. There's a lot of internal organization efforts that are being done to strengthen our moderation procedures and soon bring on hopefully more good staff in that regard, and hopefully we can find a good way to kind of self-regulate that side of moderation. What do you think is the most unappreciated line or gag? Line, I'm not sure, but if you're talking about saying or phrase, for how criminally hated MML is, it has a few of the most colorful characters in the TTO storyline. That being said, the most unappreciated gag is maybe Quicksand or Rake, just because I feel like those may be some of the least mentioned gags of them all, regardless of how useful they actually might be. What's with you and Jimmy? I don't know what you're talking about. He cooks the meatballs and I nap. I don't see what the problem is there. If Disney went on a killing rampage on all Toontown private servers, would you go to other MMOs like World of Warcraft, or would you just quit? I think that'd be a tough situation, because any content I do outside of Toontown has the possibility of being so overwhelmingly uncared for, so I'd have to consider it carefully if I were to continue doing something else on this channel. Do you or can you accept ideas, concepts, crafted stories from the community to add in future videos or Corporate Clash? And do you and the Corporate Clash staff accept volunteers? I'm all for listening to concepts and ideas and stories from the community to add into future videos or even maybe adapt for Corporate Clash. As far as volunteers go, we don't just bring people on for things in that regard, but we do listen to any application if you feel like you can help in some regard. Ding ding ding, we got our first live comment spam answer. There's a million questions, so I'm just gonna go live and rapid fire. Ready? Favorite food for breakfast on a Saturday in June? Fried chicken. How many subscribers do you think you'll get on YouTube before you switch from Toontown? If you switch, 12 million. Favorite gag? Meatball. Favorite activity on Toontown? The fishing. Ew. Favorite cog? Flunky. Favorite street in Toontown? Loopy Lane. Favorite playground in Toontown? Loopy Lane. Why are you still redaying this? I don't know. My phone just dropped under my bed. How do I get it? You go under your bed and you get it. 10. What is the dumbest question you've ever answered? That last one. Spanish. Can I stop at like 30 questions instead of 90? Yes, please. 13. Thank you. You're welcome. Loopy versus Mega Snoop. Arm wrestling. Pfft, I'd beat him. You have 7 more minutes to live. Do you try to speedrun a CEO or CJ? Neither. I'll just die. Without looking back, what was your answer to question 49? There was no question 49. Why did you try to look back at question 49? This was 17. I didn't look back. Stop cheating, okay? See you and Johnny passing notes to each other. Who's Johnny? If EA owned Toontown microtransactions, if from a scale of 1 to... That's a big number. How smart am I? 9. From a scale of 1 to 3,895, how smart are you? 9. If you said anything above 17 for question 21, you are wrong because you are reading my questions. Understand? Understood. Favorite color? Blurple. Wait, no, that's a bad answer. Majaroon. If you weren't a Detective Cat IRL, what would your main jobby be? Professional bum. If I weren't surfing a dog, if I weren't a surfing dog IRL, what would be my main job? Answering or asking a lot of questions to people. If you are putting this question in your video, why? Because I hate myself. The letter R or W? S. Mario or Sonic? Luigi. Am I almost done with the questions? I hope so. Yay, I am. Wait, this isn't a question, so I need a 30 part 2. 30 part 2. Is this a legit question? Also, 90 divided by 30 equals 3. 3 times 1 equals 3. Illuminati. Illuminati confirmed. What is your favorite cog and least favorite cog in the game? Favorite cog is probably the Flunky for just being so weirdly derpy and also kind of adorable. Least favorite is either the Number Cruncher or the Moneybags. Leaving a comment out so many times, I never got anything from you, Loopy. I'm sorry. What do you think if the gags were separated into a class system? Do you see it happening at all? Do you have visions of your own system if you wanted to change how the gag track system is? And if so, what? I think a class system would actually be really fun and awesome. It'd move Toontown into being more of a proper MMO in my opinion, or MMORPG. As far as changing it in my own way, I'd leave that probably more to the more versed people and just give my input, as I'd probably ruin the balance myself so easily. Why don't you make a subreddit for your channel, and what do you use to make your videos? I just don't think a subreddit would be popular enough, and I already got a Discord, which is kind of close enough, and I use Vegas Pro 14 to make my videos. Have you ever wanted to change your YouTube channel to something else other than Toontown? I've thought about branching out on the channel, but I've never really had the inspiration to pursue it simply because I don't think it'd do nearly that well compared to my Toontown content. But sometimes I do dabble in stuff that isn't necessarily Toontown, like Club Penguin videos or Roblox videos, regardless of relating to Toontown. Ding ding ding, we got another live the spam question comment. Alright, here we go. Where did doodles come from? They come from Doodlevania. How is a toon born? When a mommy toon loves a daddy toon. We see V2.0 cogs, goons, and a variety of unusual cogs from that video. The one with Scrooge, it doesn't include. It tells me how the normal cogs are made, but how do they make the CJ? All of those metal pieces. No toons have tails. Doodles have tails. Ducks have hands instead of wings. Does this mean doodles aren't toons? Or is it possible there are toons with tails and wings? Tails and DuckTales, woo! Dogs can fly. Cogs can fly. We all know this. So do Skelecogs. But can goons and the leaders, CFO, CEO, CJ, and VP fly? I feel like the bosses are probably a little too fat, but I would totally believe it if goons could. We know bossbots have a golf course, so cogs like sports. Do you think they hate toons racing since that's a sport, or just hate the toons driving them? Well, I think golf is kind of like a corporate sport, so that's kind of why they like that. Racing isn't quite a corporate sport, so they probably just hate the toons in general, and maybe the sport. Apparently cogs have trains. Did they make those trains, or did they take them from the toons? How did the toons not notice the trains for a long time until the catchpot was announced? We didn't explore that area yet, and we found it. And we found trains there. We know that a cut attack was sung in dances. That means some gags don't work, like the tune-up dance? Or is it how the gags are used that affects them, being punchlines to jokes? It was probably removed because it was too toony for cogs, so that's why they removed them. That doesn't relate to how toons use their effects. Why do penny benchers not have claws like the concept art? Because, budget. Do loan sharks have a thing for nurse sharks in the playground pools? Somebody write that fanfic. Do money bags actually have money in their isn't their heads in their heads? Yeah, probably. Toons create holes to teleport about. Can you use these portable holes on walls or other objects, for example? I would say so. Why do cogs patrol the roads over the footpaths? They're businessmen, so they should know the law is to walk on the footpath, or at least Lawbot should. Do they know they're breaking the law, or are they too scared to walk on them? Well, that's a great question. I'll have to consult my footpath lawyer. Why don't Cellbots wear the same kind of purple suit the concept art has? I think they originally did, and then they changed it for some stupid reason, even though purple is obviously a lot better. 15, do you think the big cheese cogs are scared of mouse toons? No, because they're stinky, and mouses know better to eat something stinky. Haha, yay. I've noticed in the Corporate Clash of Discord, new species ideas are always turned down, downvoted a bunch because we already have a lot. What's your opinion on this? If you're against completely new species, why is that? And would you feel different about an alternative like subspecies? Well, I think that's probably just the general public's reaction to either a species suggestion or adding new ones in general. I'm not against adding new species, and Corporate Clash is not against adding any new species. Subspecies, however, I feel is almost getting too complicated, if that makes sense. Honestly, what's the lifespan you see for the game to come? How many years until this 2003 game we all love with a heavily outdated engine / mechanics finally dies, at least in the scale of TTR or Altus? Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't specifically say a certain year or time frame, but the reality is it comes down to player activity. As long as people play and continue to stay on private servers to the degree that the game still feels alive, then I imagine you'll still have servers to play on for however long that may last. Be honest, Hot Loopy or Tab? Are you kidding? It's gotta be Hot Loopy or nothing at all. What are your favorite animations? Probably bored, despite the fact that it takes so long, and also delighted because I like to try and get as many people as I can spamming it to ruin people's hearing. I'm a great Toontown player. When Altus was put on Steam, did you have any direct intention to put it on Steam yourself? The page used your toon, after all. Yeah, here's the thing about Project Altus in the Steam situation. That was something done entirely by the director at the time, Torpedo, with absolutely no word with the rest of us, including me. I kept myself silent during the entire time because I didn't want myself dragged into that dumpster fire that ensued. I didn't want my channel related in that. I didn't want to be touching that at all, so I stayed completely silent. I wasn't in support of that decision, and I had no say in it. What is the worst thing about Toontown? Probably the lack of things to do. You finish the task line and it comes down to this. Do either a cog suit, racing, golfing, or something else that isn't that fun, like fishing. That's about it. So that's what I would point my finger at. What are your thoughts on Toontown Desert Storm? I think it's great in the fact that it's bringing a new Toontown experience to the table. However, I personally haven't played it and I don't really plan to due to some personal issues that happened a good long while ago. What is your own favorite YouTube video? It changes from time to time. Most of the time it ends up being a Loopy's Balls video just because the ridiculous amount of time I put into those videos more than probably any other video I make. Probably my favorite is Loopy's Balls 3 with my super amazing unannounced Kong aka Random Toon crossover. That was pretty special in my opinion. Do you use toonhq.org, yes or no? Yes, absolutely. If I'm streaming or even playing solo, I've quite often used ToonHQ and it's very handy. Have you ever been to a Disney park? What's your favorite attraction? I have, but I haven't been to one in years. My favorite in Magic Kingdom might be Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Animal Kingdom has to be Expedition Everest. I kind of dig Spaceship Earth and Epcot just for the chill factor. There's a few other great ones like Kali River Rapids or Primeval Whirl, or I used to be really deathly afraid of Splash and Space Mountain as a kid, but I imagine they'd also be a bunch of fun now. What really made you want to create Corporate Clash? Where did your ideas come from? Well, a lot of the inspiration behind Corporate Clash is just a bunch of people that have creative ideas that want to develop them and see them come to life, and that wouldn't happen anywhere else besides doing it ourselves. The ideas just come from our own minds and thinking about our ideas and contents and changes and tweaks. It's all from a number of minds behind Corporate Clash that we just all are passionate about and want to develop and put out for people to play. What is one thing you think that will make TTR good again? New permanent content. That'll make a big difference. That's it. Mustard or mayo? I will proudly choose mustard 100 times out of 100 over mayo. When I look up Loopy Goopy G, why does Loopy Doopy Google Nerd come up? Because Google hates me for some reason? Maybe they think goopy is a naughty word. Will Toontown Corporate Clash be available for Max when it comes out? Yes, Corporate Clash will be available for Max upon launch. How long have you been playing Toontown for, and do you have any pets IRL? I have been playing Toontown since late 2003, and I have 3 dogs and an iguana. How long did it take you to do the little old man task the first time you saw it? It probably legitimately took me a few months because I kind of quit for a while doing it. More as an idea than a question, but upon reaching level 70, maxing out your Toon's gags, hitting the laugh limit, will there be an opportunity of a legacy to get restarting your Toon to level 1, but the opportunity to grow stronger than ever? I can't say there are any plans for this. Maybe someday a system could be done, but I don't see us going that route if we decide to expand upon growing further. What was your worst experience on TTO as a kid, other than the game shutting down? I had a friend that I used to play with a lot, and then he shared his account with someone. They contacted Toontown support and had his Toon transferred to their account, unfriended me, and I lost contact with him for a good while. I should make a Toontown tale on this. Which cog group, Lawbot, Bossbots, etc. is your favorite and least favorite? My favorite would probably be Cellbot. It's just always been such a staple since Cellbot HQ was such a predominant thing through my life playing Toontown. And my least favorite would probably be Lawbot, but that's also kind of because the CJ kills that for me because I don't like the CJ that much. With TTR, will there be new cogs or just the same old thing over and over? It will just get bored for me. Well, I can't imagine TTR adding new cogs like board bots, but they have added special cogs before, like the Director of Ambush Marketing, and I can imagine they'll add new bosses like the Chairman at some point. Do you think Corporate Clash will outshine Rewritten due to how many more things there are to do in Corporate Clash than there are in Rewritten? Well, it's not the goal to do that. I don't see it growing bigger than TTR anyway, simply due to the fact that TTR has quite a firm grip on its player base, and a lot of people don't want to play Corporate Clash either due to its history or the fact that it's too different, which TTR is obviously king when it comes to TTO nostalgia. Can you do more improving Toontown videos, and why did you choose your intro to be the unused sound, and what new themed playground do you want to see in Toontown? Yes, I can. I chose the music just because I was trying to find some kind of intro sound that fit, and I thought that using the game file would actually be kind of an excellent way to incorporate that, and I thought it kind of sounded good. And personally, I'd love to see like a construction zone themed playground myself. I always thought that was super interesting after learning about it. What is your favorite anime? It probably doesn't count properly as an anime, but the first 5 seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Tu Tao? I'd say so. Why don't the cogs just go somewhere that does not have any tunes if they know that we will not surrender our town? Who's to say they aren't trying? How many new species of tunes are there going to be in Toontown Corporate Clash? Well, right now there's 15 species to choose from. In the future, who knows how many they may be. What do you think about furries? It's not really my thing, but I don't really mind that much. You can be a furry all you want. It doesn't change anything for me. Like what you want to like, and I'll respect that. In Toontown Corporate Clash, is there going to be BoardBot HQ? And if so, where is it going to be located? Are there going to be factory-like places to get promotions? And how do you get your BoardBot suit? Yes, there's going to be a BoardBot HQ. I think we currently have it planned to connect to DDL, but I don't know if maybe it'll change at some point. And I would assume there would be factory-like places, but nothing's for certain right now. And you would probably get your suit the same way you do Sellbot. If you could add a gag into any category, what would it be? I've been told on a number of occasions that I should add a meatball throw gag. What has been the biggest challenge that you personally or the Corporate Clash team as a whole have encountered while developing the game? I think a lot of the time it's figuring out ETAs internally or proper organization of efforts, but also some really persistent bugs that we've eventually managed to patch up. What is with the new style in Corporate Clash? Corporate Clash aims to be a new refreshing take to Toontown, and we're just trying to incorporate things that are new, fun, and enjoyable for the player. Loopy, how was your first experience getting onto a Toontown online, and how do you feel about Toontown Corporate Clash and TTR? I loved it from the start. I kept making 3-day trials and playing it over and over and over, and I just loved it. I appreciate everything TTR has done for private servers, as I don't think we'd exist as well as we do now without it, and I'm extremely hopeful for Corporate Clash. What got you into Toontown, and if so, what made you stay around? Toontown itself got me into it, and honestly, I loved it. As soon as I started playing, I enjoyed the game. I didn't want to put it down. I didn't want to stop playing, so Toontown itself really kind of got me into that. I stayed around because of that love for it and the consistency of it always being around. I grew up with it. It was in my life always, you know, I could always go and play it, so that's why I kind of always stuck around with it. How will Corporate Clash compare to the likes of Rewritten? Obviously, you don't have the support behind it or the same amount of staff, so how can you make it better than TTR or any other currently running server? Thanks in advance. Well, I think a common misconception is we're aiming to be better than TTR or any other private server. We have pretty good people on board, and our goal is to just try and put out a product that's enjoyable for players, safe for players, and stable and also enjoyable. The main thing we're aiming to do is interrupt the persistent cycle of lack of new content and trying to bring it with a wealth of difference. Doing that and hopefully keeping a decent player base interested is our end goal. Does the team know what they want to do for the BoardBot HQ and the chairman battle? I think a lot can change. There's been plans previously, but I think things do need to be mapped out, but I do have some ideas myself for it, and I'm sure others do too. What is your favorite color of banana? About the same as your profile picture. Will there be a funny farm in Corporate Clash? I think to answer that, you'd have to break down funny farm. Do you mean funny farm as in a farm-like playground, a black and white playground, or a doodle park, or anything that funny farm has been talked about as? To answer some, we don't really aim to develop a playground that was scrapped from TTO, meaning a playground called Funny Farms, but it's entirely possible that we develop something related to farmland or even maybe black and white playgrounds. Loopy, how much do you love me? Be honest. Oh, Mr. Barks, I love you as much as an elephant loves doing his yearly taxes to prevent auditing. Where did you get inspiration for your toon name and species? It was all done by me and my brother collaborating on the creation of our very first paid member toon, which ended up being Loopy itself. If you could remove 1 to 5 cogs from Toontown, which ones would it be and why? Well, let me just state I wouldn't remove any as it is, but if you were forcing me to, I'd probably start with like the Number Cruncher, Yesman, Downsizer, and some of the really similar head cogs and things of that nature. When you hear about construction zone in Toontown, what visual ideas do you think of in your head? I think of a large, circular, almost hole in the ground, a construction site with large cranes and beams and pipes of all things that you can jump across to get around the playground and climb up on, and it would just be a really cool, aesthetically pleasing construction yard site type thing. Why do you like stuff? This is a great moment to remind you guys to like this video and give a big thumbs up, and I don't know why humans exist. Answer that question, why don't you? Whose idea was it to start gardening in Toontown, and why did they think it was such a good idea? I have no idea what staff member decided to pitch gardening. They probably wouldn't come forward with it because I don't think people like gardening that much. So they don't want, you know, their 13-year-old pitchforks coming at them. But they probably adapted it from other MMOs and thought it would be something new to add and something new to do for users. Something that could keep people, you know, paying that cha-ching. What's your favorite MMO other than Toontown? Well, I guess if I had to choose from my experience with MMOs, I'd probably say MapleStory is my first pick, which I love dearly, and then if I was going to pick another one below that, it would probably be like RuneScape. Do you think any private server will or can take TTR's spot? Don't be biased, please. Honestly, I'd be shocked if any of them did. TTR's got a tight hold on their player base, and most new servers are servers that try to be different, which is in itself a deterrent to a lot of potential players. What is the worst experience you've ever had in a boss battle on Toontown? Also, what's the worst experience you've had with another player on Toontown? You know, probably just people trying to green to just be annoying, really. I've had a stream before where someone kept doing the run into VP glitch before it was patched, and that was kind of annoying. But I've been rather fortunate to not have much bad experience, at least that I can recall off the top of my head. What inspired you to start YouTube, and when do you think Toontown Corporate Clash will be out? Really, just watching other YouTubers over the years. I wanted to, you know, be like them with an audience of my own playing stuff and having people follow me, and soon, TM. Ding ding ding, another live one. This is a really short one though. Let's go. Loopy, how were you inspired and who taught you to make delicious meatballs? My sensei, Loopy Goopy Grandmaster Nerd. Loopy, what college do you attend? I do not attend any college. Do you actually make meatballs in real life? I love eating them. Is Toontown Corporate Clash going to be the best server when it releases? Absolutely. Ding ding ding. Wonderful. Why did you leave Toontown Rewritten? I want to see you back on there. I haven't left TTR. As soon as an update happens, I'll be all over it, and if I end up streaming sometime, it'll probably be TTR if Clash isn't out. Are you interested in doing voice acting? You have a great voice, by the way. I've been open to doing voice acting. It's just a matter of finding where I could actually do that. I've applied a number of times, but I never got chosen for anything, so I don't know. If you could redesign any playground in Toontown, which one would it be and why? I think a lot of the time I prefer to design a new playground and put those resources towards that than redesign an existing one, but if I had to choose one, I'd probably pick MML just because I know people don't necessarily like the height part of it, and I think it could be done probably even fancier. How did you manage to get the real Joey to play Roblox with you? Well, let me tell you, man, when you're as rich and as famous as I am, you can get just about anything you want. You will add your thoughts of concepts to Corporate Clash. Why is TTR bad at 2018? I saw Croc go sad at Playground. If you not American, what will you want to be from? A lot of my thoughts influence content that goes into Corporate Clash. If you mean as far as like doodle training or the Bank and Library, it's a good possibility nothing's been planned yet. I'm not quite sure what to say in regards to your TTR experience, and I am American. Will you ever livestream Rewritten again for fun, and if so, when? Yes, and I'm not honestly sure, but it's been criminally bad how long it's been. What is your favorite animal? Probably dogs, with cats being a close second. I love both dearly. Do you know any topics the Corporate Clash team will touch upon with mechanics, gameplay, and things of that nature in future videos? I can't say specifics, but there are plans to do more of them in the future, and you can suggest any you'd like as well. Ding ding ding, we got another bunch of live questions. Alright, you ready? Go. Do you have a Nintendo Switch? I sure don't. If not, are you planning on getting one, and what games do you plan to play / stream possibly? I probably don't plan on getting one because I don't have $300 to burn. But if I had to play something, I don't know, there's a lot of good games. It's hard to choose. I'm sorry. If so, what's your friend code? I do not have a friend code because I do not own a Switch. And what games do you plan to play or stream on it? I do not. Unfortunately, have you heard of Switch Homebrew, Switch Brew, or Rainway? I've heard of it a little bit. I heard somebody fried their Switch doing it. And I heard that even TTR thought about like porting to it if they develop that enough, which is interesting. Rainwave is supposedly an application that can stream games from your PC to your phone, tablet, or Nintendo Switch. Oh, well, that's probably where the TTR thing comes from. I think that'd be really cool, and if it could work, that'd be really awesome to see. What's your favorite retro Nintendo game? I think Kirby's Dream Land 3 is kind of my top one, just because I had a lot of nostalgia. I grew up playing that with my brother a lot, and I just adored it, even if it's not the best Kirby game. Excited for E3? I don't know, I'm not really the biggest follower of E3, but, you know, I always pay attention to some of the announcements. Your thoughts on Fortnite/PUBG? I love Fortnite. I play it a lot. I love PUBG too, but I kind of have fallen out of favor for it in favor of Fortnite. And finally, this one is the most important of all. Please no skip. Is Jimmy the secret ingredient to your meatballs being so delicious and good? He sure is, by being the best chef ever and cooking delicious meatballs. Ha ha ha. Thanks for the live questions. What made you love meatballs so much, and if a meatball was a gag, what type would it be? I blame my friend Jacob, and it would either be a throw gag or a giant massive mega meatball drop gag. When do you think the chairman will actually come out on TTR? Probably years, honestly, if they do decide to do so. Do you have future plans on your upcoming videos? I have at least one idea, but right now it's really see as I go. Will you allow us to choose how our doodles look and behave and make training them less of a chore? I think we're very receptive of the idea. In fact, you've seen probably my ideas I've put out there, but developing all that is not nearly a priority at all at the moment. Why do you hate me? Oh, Ricky, you're just so easy to pick on, aren't you? What kind of things do you do in Toontown? If I play Toontown now, it's either recording for videos or playing whatever new stuff is out, honestly. How old are you, and when did you first start playing Toontown? I am 22 years old, unbelievably. I am an old man, and I first started playing Toontown when I was almost 8 years old, so it's literally been around my entire life. Do you think that Toontown on Switch is a legitimate possibility? I wouldn't hold my breath. It's a fun topic to discuss, but I don't think I'd ever have faith unless I saw some breakthrough announcements, unless you mean something like the TTR kind of streamy port thing. Did you ever see any Toontown commercials when you were a kid? Also, how do you feel about them, the UK ones as well as the US? I definitely did. I liked some of them, and some of them were almost embarrassing in a weird way, like, oh, there's that game I play so much, you know, oh, it's awkward, everybody's seeing it, as you see the kid pull out a teleporting hole and jump through it into school. And I'm sorry, the UK ones are horrifying, no offense. I don't think it hurt as a marketing strategy overall, though. It probably really helped some. Ding, 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 got another live questions. Oh yeah, and here's another question. Why do you hate Jimmy so much? He's just mean to me, man. He doesn't bond with me. And where did you find Megastupid? Where did I find him? I made him up. Megastupid is your childhood friend or BF? No, he's not my childhood friend. Why do you like TT so much? I grew up with it and I just loved it from the start when I started playing it. What made you do another Q&A? People suggested it and it's easy content. What annoys you? People coughing without covering their mouths and sneezing and being gross. What's personal best gag in Toontown? Wedding cake. Who showed you Toontown? Either a commercial or my parents. I'm sorry if this is too much to answer. Don't you worry. Ding, ding, ding. Another live question's done. Woo! Will Toontown Corporate Clash make you upload more? I would think so. I mean, I would start uploading a lot of Toontown Corporate Clash content. Are most of the Toontown YouTubers jumping ship from Toontown Rewritten to Toontown Corporate Clash? I don't think they're jumping ship. There's no ship to jump on. It's just where the content's at. If TTR releases something, then people will be playing TTR. If Toontown Corporate Clash is new content, people will be playing Toontown Corporate Clash. It just works that way. How many people are on the Corporate Clash team? There are currently about near 40 people on the team, and almost half of it is creative team. The other half is a mix of everything else. I have a question. What do you think is the reason it's so hard to think of a question for this? Because you instantly stress your mind into trying to think of something quick, and you overthink, trying to pump some kind of creative question out, and then you just end up not being able to think creatively like you know you can. What made you find Toontown, and what do you think about the plot and characters, NPC, and most common personalities? Commercials are my parents, and honestly, there isn't much plot unless you read blog posts, besides maybe Sellbot HQ. There's some characters though that are great, like some MML shopkeepers, Little Old Man, and things like that, which I do like. What would your thoughts be on a Toontown server running on Unreal Engine 4? I would never imagine it happening in reality. Like, you could probably make some models and make it, but I don't think I'd ever see a Toontown running on it. But I'd like to see it. If you could go inside Toontown and become your own Toon in real life, what would you do and why? I would love it because I would imagine it'd be more like the cartoony Toontown world, so you'd be able to visit all the playgrounds, play trolley games, and have honestly a ton of fun firsthand, so probably that. Favorite COG boss, favorite COG facility, and do you think Corporate Clash will surpass Infinite and Altus in terms of popularity? Favorite COG boss, definitely the CFO, I love to Crane. Favorite COG facility, factories are pretty good. Mints, I do kind of like a lot. So probably Mints, I would stick with those. Do you think Corporate Clash will surpass Infinite and Altus in terms of popularity? I hope that it surpasses Altus for sure. Infinite, I don't know, they had a lot of players at their peak. I'm not quite sure what the number was, but we're not really aiming to set any personal bests. We're just hoping to have an active player base that makes the game feel alive. Will you add a trailer to TTCC, and will this have Scrooge McDuck and the chairman, and what is your thoughts to the design of the 5 bosses, and what is the name of the boss of the board bot? We will be doing a trailer to the Toontown Corporate Clash game, and it will not have Scrooge McDuck. I like the design of the bosses. I think they were always kind of very solid, and the boss of the board bot would undoubtedly be the chairman. Is there an answer why robots were chosen to destroy Toontown? Yes, originally Toontown was going to have evil doctors and dentists and things like that, but they felt it was making them out to be bad, so they changed it to evil businessmen, which the head of executives at Disney shot down, so they got around it by saying they were now just robots, which is okay, you know, robots, that's fine. But they didn't mention it was robotic businessmen, and thus it was that way ever since. What is your best tip for anyone starting out on Toontown? Lure is your friend. Battling isn't too hard, just watch what others do and pick up on that. Throw and sound are the best gag tracks ever. You are welcome. Should I play Corporate Clash? Yes. What is your favorite MTTR character? I haven't really watched much of anything from Mad Toontown Returns, so I will just say the entirety of the COG movie is my favorite character. What made you become so devoted towards Toontown? It's something that I can appreciate since most people eventually get bored of it and quit. Well, let me just say first off that I am also one that can fall victim to getting bored of it and quitting, but I played from a young age and just loved the game and played it all throughout my life, and then at a time where all I wanted to do was to find some degree of success as a content creator, I hit a huge stride and found what I have now in the game that I grew up with, so how could I ever just ditch that? In the current looms of things, when will Corporate Clash come out? Also, will the team support Let's Plays YouTubers do in Corporate Clash? So I can't officially say any date, but it's getting closer and closer. Secondly, we not only support but encourage people to do Let's Plays of Corporate Clash, as it only helps get the word out further. Never hesitate on making any content about it, it'll always be supported. Is Chicken Little the best movie ever? Yes, Chicken Little is indeed the best movie ever. Why? Well, you see, it's because... Do you believe Cellbot HQ should return to its old difficulty? I think there's several layers to it. You could argue that it's too easy now, or you could argue that it makes sense with progression through the game, but I'm not opposed to changing it back. And in fact, Corporate Clash's Cellbot HQ is harder than the regular one now and kind of emulates that original style, just as long as it doesn't include losing any suit parts. That was the one annoyance I absolutely hated from back in the day. How much money do you have in your pocket right this very second? Actually, none, unfortunately. My pockets are empty, but if you actually want to know how much is in my wallet right now, it's $102, but that's with me literally never, ever spending anything, because I don't go anywhere, and I don't spend on anything, so most of it's just literally Christmas and birthday money and stuff I've racked up over the last year. My wallet is basically my piggy bank that just sits around. What's your outlook on the future of Toontown? Do you think it's got a chance in revival in the ever-changing game community, or are you more pessimistic? I think it's always got the potential to have a place in the game market. It's so uniquely itself in being cartoony and slapstick inspired, and bringing that together in an MMO that can also bring together any age of player. That's kind of special. That being said, I'm not banking on any revival game being made anytime soon, unfortunately. Are you a Toon? I sure hope I am. What would you do if Cogs invaded the real world? I'd probably be a little concerned because I don't exactly have jokes and gags and cream pies lying around, and these would be big giant metallic robot cogs, so they could probably do some damage. I'd probably lock the door and hope they don't take my house over, I guess. Luby, what are the files you see in the Lava DA offices? Could they be secret information that the cogs are hiding from us? If so, what is inside these files I believe is unknown. Can you figure it out? It's a very interesting question. There may be, but considering Toons have been around for so long, it might just be in boring old paperwork that the cogs are stored away, or books that are full of boring law information, but who knows? It could be something. Is Mega Snoop your brother? He's my bro, but he's not my brother, if you know what I'm saying. What do you think about field offices coming back to Toontown? I think implemented in a new fashion like TTRs promised would be cool. In the original TTO fashion, however, I find they're kind of neat, but that's literally just if you want to do the balloon game over and over and over for opponent's reward. So if done differently for content's sake, it could be cool. For regular offices, it's really kind of meh. Will TTCC make you upload less? There's ebbs and flows to it. There's times like now where I'm writing an entire task line and it really takes a lot of my creativity and time to do, and that naturally takes away from creating videos, but I won't always be doing that much work, so there's potential for it to decrease and also potential for it to regulate throughout random times depending on what project we're undergoing and what's needed from me. Do you have any experience with Panda 3D, and have you ever tried it? I've only had the littlest of experience with Panda 3D. I'm not a smoke informant by any means. I usually only use P-View, and that's kind of it. Besides that, I've toyed with it enough to mess with the Panda Landwalker like 10 years ago, but not that much. Is Corporate Clash going to stray away from normal Toontown gameplay with all of its changes? I really hope that it doesn't become a basic RPG with a Toontown reskin. Well, I think the main principles will always stay. Things like gags, turn-based battle, cogs, bosses, promotions, things like that should always stay consistent. Things like gag upgrading or even maybe someday classes are something that we're genuinely open to simply because we feel there's a genuine avenue to this for Toontown. Despite what other people may say that it goes against everything Toontown is, the idea of giving the player the chance to be unique in their own right is something that I really love, and classifications of toons like battling toons, healing toons, things like that could be really cool. So I like the ability to choose your gags, the ability to prestige multiple tracks, and introducing some new damage and effect bonuses into the mix. It's something that I genuinely like. Now, would that make Toontown a basic RPG with a Toontown reskin? Maybe that's for you to decide, but I think that there's potential for a lot of features in that regard. Is mayonnaise an instrument? No, Diddy Kong, mayonnaise is not an instrument. What will the Toontown Corporate Clash team do to reduce the grind that the original game currently has? That's a good question. The team's taken steps in this regard to help with things like balancing multipliers in locations, creating changes that allow for easier gathering of promotion materials, and raising the EXP cap from TTO significantly to allow for more potential EXP gained in a building or a factory or anything of that sort. Since Thanos is being included in Fortnite as well, do you plan on adding Thanos as the penultimate secret boss in Toontown Corporate Clash? Yes. Not really though. This may be too late, but will the cogs have new attacks? We've toyed around with it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some new ones at some point for sure. How long do you take to record and edit a single video? It depends on the video. If it's a discussion, it may take half an hour. If it's Loopy's Balls, it may take upwards of 10 hours. If it's a gameplay, it'll probably take an hour or two of recording and nearly the same in editing. So really, it can take anywhere from half an hour up to 15 plus hours if you're looking at a video even like this one. Do you make meatballs IRL, and where did the whole Jimmy character come from? Also, do you plan on making any more shorts? I love to consume them, and Jimmy came from a video I did called Toontown Rants Communication, where I talked about toons not communicating often in places, and I made a jokey reference to Bond With Me Jimmy, so I created the character to use for that joke and just decided to keep using that character for any other project that I could really fit him in. And lastly, what are the ways that Toontown was cool to you when you were young in Toontown Online? I think it was cool in being my first real experience in MMO play. I loved the graphics in a stylistic sense. I loved actually learning how to do bugs like getting into the window view in an estate. Little things that really won me over about the game at a very young age. Anyways, just want to say thank you all for watching my mega Q&A. I had a billion questions to answer. I hope they were insightful, maybe interesting, maybe a little funny. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time in my next video. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, guys.